In today's video, going to be going over another poll that just came out recently, this one from Emerson College, and they focused in on the all-important state of Wisconsin, which is a key battleground for 2020. And if you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, you're going to really like the results that came out of this particular poll in terms of that 2020 Democratic primary. And then they also went on to do head-to-head matchups against the Democratic hopefuls and Donald Trump. But before going through this particular Emerson College poll, I just want to go over some numbers from Wisconsin that we got back in 2016. Just to show you how important this state is, I'm going to start with the primary numbers in 2016. Bernie Sanders did extremely well. He actually got the most votes out of any candidate on the Democratic or Republican side at about 567,000. And it's really interesting. We go and take a look at the state of Wisconsin. He won every single county other than Milwaukee, but even Milwaukee was extremely close, where he was within only about 3 or so percentage points. So Bernie performing better than any other candidate here back in 2016. On the Republican side, Donald Trump, you can see that there wasn't an overwhelming appetite for Trump in comparison to Ted Cruz, who actually did quite a bit better than Trump by 13 percentage points there. Cruz coming in first at a little over 500,000 votes of his own. But just based on these 2016 primary numbers, if you would forecast a 2020 matchup between Sanders and Trump, you could see that there could potentially be a bit more support on Sanders' side than Trump if we're just looking at the numbers that we have here from 2016. But then we go into that 2016 general election. Of course, Hillary Clinton coming up short, getting 232 electoral votes to Trump's 306. And she lost because she fell in key Midwestern states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and then a little bit outside the Midwest, but also a similar demographic there in Pennsylvania. Of these three states, I think Michigan and Pennsylvania are a little bit easier to get than Wisconsin. That's why this is such an important state, because if the Democrats do grab Michigan and Pennsylvania but still lose Wisconsin, they could still end up losing the Electoral College to Donald Trump. So winning that state of Wisconsin is extremely important. Now, if they didn't win Wisconsin, there's still potential pathways for them. If they were to pick up Iowa, Arizona, North Carolina, or Florida, those are other potential pathways, but I think Wisconsin is the clearest path forward for the Democrats if they're going to try to get that 270 electoral votes to get them the presidency. Now, going back to this Emerson poll, going down of the 2020 Democratic primary field, you can see Bernie Sanders did tremendously well here, and it shouldn't be too much of a surprise in Wisconsin, considering how significantly well he did in comparison to Clinton back in 2016. Also, the fact that Clinton came up short in her head-to-head against Donald Trump there in the state of Wisconsin. There's clearly an appetite in this state for progressive populism. Behind Sanders, Joe Biden coming in at second place with 24%. Elizabeth Warren doing respectably well for herself at 14 percentage points. And then the rest of the field not doing all that great. O'Rourke at 6, Kamala Harris at 5, Amy Klobuchar at 4, which is actually pretty devastating for her. You hear a lot of this punditry on the mainstream media where they're saying that Amy Klobuchar is a great potential candidate for the Democrats because she can do very well in the Midwest. She's obviously the senator from Minnesota, where she actually did quite well in her re-election bid. But the fact that she's only getting 4% in the neighboring state of Wisconsin is not a great sign for her. And then we have Cory Booker at 2 percentage points, Andrew Yang at 1, Pete Buttigieg at 1, Kirsten Gillibrand at 1, and then all the other candidates are at 0 percentage points. So then we move down, and taking a look at the support of each candidate, it's actually really interesting. Just taking a look at the three top candidates. So Joe Biden, he only has 2% of his support coming from voters between the age of 18 to 29, and then 18% between 30 to 49. But then he has overwhelming amounts of his support coming from voters that are over the age of 50. You contrast that to Sanders and Warren, where it's a very different story. You can see Bernie as well as Elizabeth Warren, most of their support is coming from those voters that are under the age of 50 in contrast to voters that are over the age of 50. So there's a clear divide here within that Democratic coalition in the age demographics in comparison to the more centrist corporate type candidate like Joe Biden, in comparison to the more progressive style candidates in Sanders and Warren. So now moving down, of these Wisconsin voters, they're asking what direction should the Democratic Party move? And you can see they want the party to go left, significantly left at 24 percentage points, slightly left at 31 percentage points, stay where it is at 30, and then going more to the right does not poll as well, just at 16 percentage points combined between slightly to the right and more significantly to the right. So now going down and taking a look at the head-to-head matchups between Trump and these Democratic hopefuls. And actually, the best performer here is Joe Biden, even though he's coming up short in the Democratic primary field. Once you go to the general election, he's actually doing quite well at 54 percentage points compared to Trump at 46. And then we have Warren and Sanders both at the same numbers, 52 to 48. And then the other candidates not doing quite as well. Kamala Harris at a 50-50 tie. Beto O'Rourke up by 2 percentage points. And then another, again, very bad sign for Amy Klobuchar. The fact that in this particular Emerson poll, she's at a 50-50 tie with Donald Trump in a part of the country where she's supposed to be doing a bit better, again, is just not a great sign for her. So that's going to wrap up this poll and all the numbers that I wanted to go over. Again, taking a look at that 2020 Democratic primary where there's 3 candidates that really have separated themselves from the rest of the pack in this particular poll. I'd like to see more out of the state of Wisconsin, but it doesn't surprise me that Bernie is doing so well in a state that he did very well in back in 2016. He's trying to carry that momentum over into 2020, and we'll see how that plays out. So thanks, guys, for stopping on in. Subscribe for more, and I hope to see you back here for future videos.